Okay, I have to make this quick because I have to change out for work, but I found a massive ethics violation in the Epstein files, and I think it's why the 2-year plea deal got approved. So, basically, there is either a deputy chief of the Criminal Justice Division or the actual chief of the Criminal Justice Division. I don't know which one. All the names are redacted for who is in what position, so I can't exactly tell, but it's one of those two positions. This dude had a relationship with Leslie Ann Sanchez, which was one of Epstein's defense attorneys, and it was described as a very close personal relationship because they had worked together as superior and subordinate. Again, I don't know who was the deputy and who was the actual chief. But on top of that, they also had a dating relationship. Now, when you go through the deposition of Alex Acosta, you learn that there were other people on the case who disclosed conflicts of interest to the ethics division, people who had been friends with attorneys on the Epstein team or attorneys associated with Epstein's defense, and those people were all vetted by the ethics team and told that they could continue on the case. But the one person who didn't do that is the gentleman that was either the deputy chief or the chief of the Criminal Justice Division. In fact, he never even mentioned it to Alex Acosta, the U.S. attorney, that he had been in a prior relationship with Leslie Ann Sanchez and the fact that they had worked together. You know who doesn't say possible ethics issues? People that are doing something wrong. Because let me put it to you this way. It's no different than a husband being under investigation for, say, murdering his wife. And investigators ask them, hey, can you think of anybody who would want to do this? And the husband's like, no, I don't. Later, they find out that he had an affair with a woman who's incredibly jealous and made threats against the wife. And then the investigators are like, hey, why didn't you say anything about this? And he goes, oh, you never asked me about it. You're either admitting because you know it's wrong and nobody asked you about it, so that's your defense, or you're omitting because you genuinely forgot. But this is not one of those things that you genuinely forget to bring up because it is a massive conflict of interest. On top of that, this individual had a private one-on-one meeting for half of the day with Leslie Ann Sanchez and reported to her that the best option that she could do for Epstein was to give a plea deal with jail time and registration as a sex offender, and that Alex Acosta would be okay with it. Now, when asked about this, Alex Acosta says that he was never approached by this deputy chief or chief of the crime division, and he wasn't sure why he would propose that to Leslie Ann Sanchez. So what that means to me is this guy's just throwing shit out there to his former lover, former possible supervisor, possible subordinate, and just saying, hey, go do this, Alex Acosta will approve it. So I think the original 2-year plea deal with registration started with that individual. And he was in the good graces of Leslie Ann Sanchez. Now the thing that really gets me here is why he wouldn't disclose that to the ethics division, because there is a chance that the Epstein case could have gone to trial. They were talking about possibly indicting him if they couldn't settle it on a pre-indictment, which was with a plea deal. And this dude is setting up the perfect defense for Epstein because all Leslie Ann Sanchez has to say is, hey, this is an ethics violation. I either worked for or was the superior of this gentleman, and also we had a dating relationship. And then all of a sudden there's doubt in the case, there's ethical issues in the case, the whole thing could be thrown out, right? This dude is playing into the defense hand. Why? Why? Who knows? I don't know, but it sure is weird.